Welcome to Only the Truth, where that's all you're going to get. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is the beginning of the series that I've been leading up to. It is an exhaustive research and study of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, more obviously referred to as the founders of ancient paganism equals modern religion. So yeah, that's where we're going. All right, stay tuned. We're going to go ahead and get into it and go over exactly what this means, what it pertains to, and how it applies to modern society that we're living in today. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, I've put together a compilation of materials based on findings from many studies and exhaustive research, not only my own, but more extensively by a society of ancient Hebraic scholars, as well as several archaeological projects pertaining directly to this very subject, which is ancient paganism, and where it came from, how it started, who was involved, and how it got to today from way back then. Okay, so I've prepared something of a generalized timeline of these materials that indicates the chronological occurrences of these ancient events. There is literally a gargantuan amount of materials. I mean, there's more than I'm able to document. There's more than I'm able to even research. But even with having researched a small amount of them, I've been able to put together enough information to really make a strong case for what I'm insinuating here. So I'll just stick to the more pertinent highlights. So just be aware, I am going to be quoting from some of these materials, as well as some of my own. There's some materials involved in what I've compiled here that are from other writers, from other researchers, from other scholars as well, who have done their due diligence and done their work. I've compiled along with some of their findings, as well as some extensive archaeological materials that have been made available, and I've done my due diligence. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So there were three key figures associated with the origins of paganism, or ancient paganism, if you want to call it, which are literally the foundation of every religious system in the world today, both ancient and modern. These three founders of the modern pagan religious system are Nimrod, or Zeus, great-grandson of Noah, his mother / wife, Semiramis, aka Madonna, or Ishtar, or Isis, and their virtual son, Tammuz, later referred to in Greek as Jesus Christos. That's key. You need to make a note of that. Put a pen in it, so to speak. Jesus Christos. So Nimrod, known in Egypt as Osiris, was the founder of the world's first empire at Babel, later known as Babylon. From sources located in some ancient ruins of Mesopotamian and Egyptian cities discovered by archaeologists, pertinent events have been accurately reconstructed. So from that we can take a pretty good amount of information and come to these conclusions. So follow along. After Nimrod's death in 2167 BC, Semiramis promoted the belief that Nimrod had ascended and was now a god. She claimed that she was a witness to the event of a full-grown evergreen tree springing out of the roots of a dead evergreen tree stump. And she said that this symbolized the springing forth of new life from Nimrod. So on the anniversary of Nimrod's birth, which is the Gregorian calendar, December the 25th, she said Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts under it. His birthday fell on the winter solstice at the end of December. And I know that's got to sound familiar. I mean, anybody that knows what time Christmas happens should be able to put two and two together with that one. Okay, so anyway, I'm not going to belabor that. So a short time later, Semiramis bore a son, who some called Horus or Gilgamesh in other languages, but in Greek it was Jesus Christos, or in ancient Hebrew, Tammuz. She insisted that she had been visited by the spirit of Nimrod, who left her pregnant with the boy. Horus, she maintained, was Nimrod reincarnated. So with the Father, Mother, and Son deified, the first so-called Holy Trinity was formed. We start seeing here a remarkable parallel to modern theology, Catholicism, if you will, via the Vatican. So Semiramis and Horus were worshipped as Madonna and Child. As the generations passed, they were worshipped under other names in different lands and other languages. Many of these are recognizable, such as Fortuna, Jupiter in Rome, Aphrodite and Adonis in Greece, and Ashtoreth, Astarte, and Molech, Baal in Canaan even. During the following centuries, this theology gave birth to what we now call paganism. During this period, the pagans, as it were, developed the belief that the days grew shorter in the early winter because their sun god was leaving them. When they saw the length of days increasing, they celebrated by riotous, unrestrained feasting and orgies in honor of their god returning. So this celebration, known as Saturnalia, was named after Saturn, which is referenced as the dwelling place of Nimrod. That's another key point. So here's the syncretism of all of that. This is how it all comes together. So Lupercus was a hunter of wolves. So in the Latin, lupus means wolf. So Lupercus means hunter of wolves. Associated with the Roman god Venus, god of agriculture and fertility. Since Rome took its gods from those that it conquered, we can trace Venus to its Greek equivalent, Pan, god of woods, fields, and flocks. The ancients pictured both of these mythological beings as having a human torso, but legs, horns, and ears of goats. They also sacrificed goats and used straps made from their skin to whip the women during their ritualistic feasts. As creepy as that sounds, that's what they did because that's who they were. Anyway, interesting that God's people are referred to as sheep while Satan's people are referred to as goats. Yahweh does know what he's talking about. So anyway, moving right along. Pan can be traced to the Phoenician sun god Baal, also a god of fertility and nature. Ancient resources indicate that Baal is actually Nimrod. Moshe, or Moses, describes Nimrod as the mighty hunter. In the days after the flood, animals multiplied rapidly and caused fear to overtake the people. So Nimrod grew very popular and revered because of his ability to defeat the wild animals. Tradition even says that he roamed as far as early Roman provinces to hunt wolves. So this is where the part about Valentine comes into play. The word derives from the Latin root valens, meaning strong, powerful, mighty. Our word valiant, courageous, heroic also comes from this root. There are many descriptions of Nimrod referring to him as the people's Valentine, and that's actually an ancient account. So it goes way back where that started. So it's not some new thing that we're just all of a sudden doing because that's who we are and where we live. This is all ancient stuff. The origins, that's what this is about. So anyway, that literally gives a whole new twist to the old saying, oh, be my Valentine, and no, probably not. I'm promised not to be your Valentine. Please don't be mine. Anyway, so the heart-shaped symbol of Valentine's Day is actually a symbol for Nimrod. The Romans acquired the heart symbol from the Babylonians who spoke the Chaldean tongue. In this language, the word for heart was Baal, or Bel. Due to its similarity in sound to Baal, it became the main emblem for Nimrod. So moving right along. Since we got Christmas from the Roman Catholics, as we know, and they got it from paganism where did the pagans get it? Where did it come from? And what was its real origin? It all started and originated in the original Babylon of ancient Nimrod, just barely this side of the flood. Nimrod, grandson of Ham, son of Noah, was the real founder of the Babylonish system that was gripped in the ancient days and has even gripped our world today. Since then till today, it's literally been going on that long, and it's still going on today. That's what controls everything today. I mean, when you look at it, the system of organized competition, man-ruled governments, empires based upon competitive, profit-making economic systems. Nimrod built the Tower of Babel, the original Babylon, ancient Nineveh, many other cities. He organized the world's first kingdom. The name Nimrod in Hebrew is derived from marad, meaning he rebelled, or one who rebels. It's necessary at this point to make mention that Nimrod and his consorts were not human and what modern culture would call human. They were of a supernatural sort, Nephilim to be exact. Their use of what we would call advanced technology was common in the ancient times. That was normal for them. And it was such that Yahweh had a concern, so he chose to intervene. The simple fact that he doesn't intervene in our modern technology, so-called modern technology, indicates that ours is far inferior to theirs. You need to keep that in mind. If our technology were such that we could pursue Yahweh in the skies, into the heavens, into the stars, he'd be shutting us down. So it's kind of careful how we proceed, but we don't have the technology to proceed that far yet. So, many ancient writings and documents describe in detail who Nimrod was, what Nimrod was, and what Nimrod did. Nimrod, I continue to repeat that because you need to get that name in your psyche. You need to have this as part of your vocabulary. The founder of everything that this world is based upon today is an inspired individual, inspired by Lucifer, and his name is Nimrod. Keep that in mind. So, Nimrod started the great organized worldly apostasy from Yahweh, influenced by Lucifer, that has dominated this world until now. Nimrod actually married his own mother, Semiramis. Creepy. After Nimrod's untimely death, his so-called mother/wife, Semiramis, propagated the evil doctrine of the survival of Nimrod as a spirit being. She claimed that a full-grown, and we're getting repetitive a little bit, but we need to make a real strong point about this. She claimed that an ever-grown tree sprang up overnight from a dead tree stump, which symbolized the springing forth into new life of the ascended Nimrod. On each anniversary of his birth, which was December 25th, she claimed Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts on it. Wow, that's kind of familiar and creepy in a familiar way. On December 25th, which was the birthday of Nimrod. This is the real origin of the Christmas tree, by the way. So, Semiramis, through her scheming and designing, she became the Babylonian Queen of Heaven, as it were. And Nimrod, under various names, became the divine Son of Heaven. Through the generations, in this idolatrous worship, Nimrod became the false Messiah, son of Baal, the sun god. In this false Babylonish system, the mother and child, Semiramis and Nimrod, reborn, became chief objects of worship. This worship of mother and child spread over the world. The names varied in different countries and languages. In Egypt, it was Isis and Osiris. In Asia, it was Cybele and Deulius. In pagan Rome, Fortuna and Jupiter. In Greece, China, Japan, Tibet, around the world, it's documented the counterpart of the Madonna long before the arrival of Yeshua HaMashiach. It doesn't even fall in the same time of the year, nor is it even close to the same year. It's a long distance between these occurrences. So during the 4th and 5th centuries, when the pagans of the Rome world were accepting the new and popular Greek Christianity. You need to keep that, put those two together. Rome, Greece. They go together like this, okay? So they're accepting the new popular Christianity. It was formed out of that assembly. By the hundreds of thousands carrying their old pagan customs and beliefs along with them, giving them so-called Christian-sounding names, the Madonna and Mother and Child idea also became popularized, especially at the time that we now call Christmas. Every Christmas season, you're going to hear chanted dozens of times, the hymns and all the Christmas carols and stuff. It's all based on this old paganism ritual. Silent Night, Holy Night, this is a familiar sound, I know. Mother and Child theme it's what it's all based on. It comes from this ancient paganism. We can see here that we've lived in a Babylonish world for a long time. All of our lives, we've been taught to revere these things as holy and sacred, but they're not. We've never questioned where they came from, whether they came from the Bible or from pagan idolatry. And here's the sad part about that. Those are one and the same. They're identical. They are the exact same ancient theology. Paganism and Christianity come from the exact same roots. So here's the sledgehammer. Y'all might want to be trying to hate me for this, but Yahweh has told me to tell the truth. And that's what I'm going to do, even if you don't like it. The so-called Holy Bible is 100% pagan idolatry. It's formed from portions of real ancient scripture, but combined with a reverent recognition of the ancient pagan trinity instead of Yahweh. There is nothing holy about it. Nothing. Most people are utterly incensed to hear the real truth and generally take massive offense when reality slaps them in the face. But Yahweh has commanded his faithful ministers, shout out aloud my truth, and don't spare the offended ear. Show my people their transgressions against me. That's what he calls his prophets to do. And I'm not saying I'm one of his chosen prophets or apostles, but when Yahweh tells me what to do, I'm going to do it. And you do well to listen to Yahweh's messengers. Seriously, as shocking as these facts are, they're literally the true facts of history. I mean, all of the unearthed information and resources that have come to light indicate the accuracy of these claims. This isn't me making these claims. This is research and archaeology combined, compiling a repository of information that points out this exact reality. And even along with parts of the ancient scripture that were accurately referenced. You have to keep in mind that the ancient prophecies say that Lucifer is referred to as the Satan. It's literally translated to mean that he is the creator of deception. The deception over the world. He's the creator of deception over the entire world and everyone that lives in it. He's regarded as the one who deceived the entire world before the coming of Yahweh to settle his score. This is a prophetic statement that says that before Yahweh comes to settle his score, that he is going to have deceived the entire world. You need to keep that in mind. That means that if the prophecies say that Lucifer is capable of deceiving the entire world, and that by the time Yahweh gets here, that's going to have been accomplished, we have to take note of where we must be in that cycle right now. Obviously, the deception is something that we have to also put in our vocabulary, that we've all been deceived by someone who was capable of deceiving us. Back to the last bit of this subject about Christmas. The real origin of Christmas goes back to the ancient Babylon. It's the organized apostasy which Satan has used to deceive the whole world for millennia. In Egypt, it was always believed that the son of Isis Egyptian name for Queen of Heaven, was born on December 25th. Paganism celebrated this famous birthday over most of the known world for centuries and even millennia before the birth of Yeshua. Another key point. So December 25th is not the birthday of Yeshua HaMashiach. The apostles and the early true church never celebrated Yeshua's birthday at any time, nor is there any command or instruction to celebrate it in the ancient Hebraic scriptures. Rather, the celebrating of birthdays is referred to in those same ancient scriptures as a pagan custom, believe that or not. So the name determined by Yahweh himself for his appearing on earth as the Messiah was not Jesus, nor was it Christ. It was Emmanuel, which means Elohim amongst men. The name Jesus Christ comes from the Greek expression which is pronounced Jesus Christos. It refers to a mythological deity which is synonymous with son of Zeus, or Tammuz, and was worshipped largely in Greece and in other areas, including the Latin world and beyond. The reference is noted as pertaining to a Greco-Roman influence intent upon deceiving the world about the coming Messiah, so as to ensure that all under this influence would ultimately reject the real Messiah at his arrival. So it's important to make note here that if that initiative was in place with the intention of deceiving everybody so that they would ultimately reject the coming Messiah, you have to understand, this isn't Yahweh's messages. This is Lucifer's deception. How else would Lucifer deceive people to literally reject the Messiah that all the prophecies pointed to? They were waiting for him. They're like, oh man, when he gets here, we're all going to be good to go. We're going to be saved. The Messiah that Yahweh has promised us in the prophecies is coming. By the time he came, they had been deceived to believe something else. And when he got here, they literally rejected him, his own people. Okay? That's where we are again today. Like the old scripture says, that which is now has been before, and what has been must be again. That means Yahweh repeats his cycles. Everything of ancient time that happened then, meaning Lucifer deceiving the whole world, like he did back then, before Yeshua came, is going to happen again before Yeshua comes the last time. That means we're all deceived. That's where we are. We're all deceived. Get that through your head. It's not a matter of I'm trying to tell you something to convince you that you're wrong and I'm right. I'm trying to tell you what Yahweh's trying to tell you. He wants you to know the truth before it's too late. So let Yahweh's spirit speak to your spirit instead of the world speaking to your head. Let your spirit receive from Yahweh his truth. That's where it's at. That's your salvation. That's your only hope. Literally, back to it, this is documented as being an agenda of the ancient Catholic order preceding the formation of the early Vatican. Imagine that. Thus, the ancient idolatrous Chaldean mysteries, founded by this wife of Nimrod, have been handed down through the pagan religious system bearing Christian associations, which is Greek-Roman. It's not Hebrew. Never was. And keeping in mind that the Hebrew is actually the language of the Bedouins. The Hebrew people is not a nationality. Hebrew is the language that the Bedouins spoke. And you keep that in mind as well. So when we're referring to Hebrews, we're referring to Bedouins who spoke the Hebrew language, the Hebrew tongue. So back to Nimrod. His name literally means let us revolt. In the context of Torah, there is absolutely no mention of animals that he supposedly hunted. The context does have to do with the description of character, morality, spirituality, and culture. Nimrod was not just a mighty man or a mighty hunter. In terms of men, Nimrod was a Nephilim. Straight up, plain and simple. Key point. So what was Nimrod doing when he was hunting? Nimrod hunted other Nephilim, and he eliminated them. He got rid of the competition and established his own tyrannical system of government to which he had absolute power. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. He did that before the Lord. as the ancient scriptures say. He did that in the face of Yahweh. He did it with antagonism. He did that like, this is it, deal with it. That was his attitude towards Yahweh. So in other words, he did what he did intentionally and maliciously in the face of Yahweh. That's what it means. He did that before the Lord. That means he was up in his face. He's like, yeah. That's what Nimrod did. Because he was influenced by Lucifer. He was a Nephilim who supported the agenda of Lucifer, which was to turn the entire world against Yahweh. So here we have mankind's first attempt to bring all of mankind under one government. From the very beginning, Yahweh shows that bringing governments under man is this grasping, enslaving principle of government, intertwined with economic manipulation, which has dominated the world ever since the days of Nimrod and the Nephilim. Whatever form human governments take, they display the same Babylonian style of rule. Governments have risen and fallen, but their basic principles have remained: competition and strife based on greed and pride. Always greed and pride. So regardless of form, human government is based on exploitation of other people and resources, power, aggression, and deception. Totally. It's the only way to make it work is deception. As a world order built on strife and competition, each of the four phases of human civilization, which are political, economic, religious, and social, has tried to dominate the others. In ancient Rome, politicians ruled over religion, business, and society. After AD 554, the Roman Catholic Church dominated the others. Communism, as with all forms of socialism, induces a laboring class to support the suppressive government for the benefit of the elite. Now, I know that sounds familiar. So regardless of the particular form of administration, the civilization that now holds the entire world under its sway is the same Babylonian system initially established by Nimrod. Babylon means confusion. Competition and strife have produced confusion throughout the world, but Yahweh is not the author of confusion. Therefore, this world system of government is obviously not of Yahweh. Babylon became the Bible's code word for what its New Testament writers call the world. As they use the Greek term cosmos, it is an organized worldwide system opposed to Yahweh, just as surely as Nimrod was opposed to Yahweh. Babylon is an organized worldwide system opposed to Yahweh. It is a culture that is anti-Messiah, anti-Yahweh, and it's everywhere, and it's anti-you and me. So this is what the context shows in the ancient writings to this point. The people scattered from the Tigris and Euphrates valleys, taking much of the antagonistic to God culture with them, and each language group adopted it to some degree to their ethnic traditions. Undoubtedly, each group altered it somewhat, but secular evidence reveals a common string connecting all civilizations worldwide to the Tigris-Euphrates region. It is the womb of man's civilization. It took centuries for people to migrate and settle to their new lands, and so the pattern of worldly government after the flood was established. Yahweh even foreshadows that it would rise again in the last days. That's what the bits of the book of Revelation in the Bible, there is some truth. Literally, there is truth in the English scriptures, the Holy Bible, as you want to call it, because it's all based on things that were true, but it's been altered and things added to it. But anyway, the parts of it that are true is referring to that in the last days that these things would occur again. It's a repeating cycle. So it describes giants in those days. And it doesn't say that they were ever destroyed. Enoch said that they were locked away, but they still had access to men. And that's still happening today, believe it or not. There's proof of it. So anyway, Nimrod was the greatest of those Nephilim. So this is where I'll end this segment, this series. And in the following segments, we'll get into how this ancient pagan system evolved into the current religious system that we have today. this is just the beginning of this series. There's quite a bit more to come, and I have to kind of break it up into bits so that I can actually get it uploaded in a way that you can watch it without getting super bored about it. I'll give you time to go and take a break and maybe go get a snack or have dinner or whatever. So anyway, as always, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you click like and subscribe, not because I'm looking for subscribers. I'm not here to make money. I'm here to get the messages from Yahweh to you. And if you click subscribe and like, you're sure to get the upcoming videos that Yahweh is having me put together at this moment. Actually, there's quite a bit more to come, and I'm going to make more videos following this with a lot of the same materials. So I don't want you to miss the next upcoming videos in this series. So until next time, Yahweh bless you, and thanks for watching. See you next time.